And good evening, and welcome to another edition of the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230, online at bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. I'm Chad Holmes, tonight flying solo in the host chair as my normal co-host, Jeff Gress. It's that time of year when the family and a child has a holiday concert, a Christmas concert. You gotta be there. So Jeff Gress over at Newman tonight, along with his family, watching the next generation involved in a Christmas concert. So again, he'll be back next week, but we'll make sure that things go smoothly for the rest of this evening. For the next 2 hours, nothing but high school sports. In fact, we do have a couple of guests, but both our guests are coming up in the second hour of the show tonight. Our student athlete guest for this week from Wausau East High School, their outstanding boys basketball player, Jesse Napgezek. He'll be joining us at about 7 p.m. this evening. Napgezek currently the leading scorer for the Lumberjacks, who are off to a 5-0 start on the season, heading into their Wisconsin Valley Conference opener against DC Everest on Friday night. And then our coach guest for this week, after that at 7:20, will be Newman Catholic girls basketball coach Casey Clausius. First-year head coach of Newman got his first win as the coach of the Cardinals last night, as Newman knocked off Marathon in a game that was heard right here on Bull Falls Radio. So we'll talk about the new job at Newman Catholic and what got him to this point, and his philosophy, and a whole bunch more. Casey Clausius coming up at 7:20 tonight. So again, Jesse Napgezek from Wausau East at 7, and Newman Catholic girls basketball coach Casey Clausius coming up at 7:20 here on the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. Before we get into the basketball and hockey, which we normally focus on here during the winter sports season, this week the announcement came down for the 4 players that have been nominated by their schools for the Win Brockmeyer Award. The Win Brockmeyer Award, named for the legendary Wausau High School football coach, Win Brockmeyer. Incredible record during the late 1930s until his retirement in 1970. And every year, Wausau West, Wausau East, DC Everest, and Newman Catholic each nominate a senior football player for this award, the outstanding football player of the greater Wausau area, a senior. And this year, the final 4 from DC Everest, it is Pearson McDonald, outstanding wide receiver for the Evergreens. He was the top receiver in the Wisconsin Valley Conference this season with 50 catches. Had 822 receiving yards, also number 1 in the conference, 8 touchdowns, and first team all-conference wide receiver. So Pearson McDonald, the nominee from DC Everest. From Wausau West, Tegan Isham-Herb, outstanding center for the Warriors. He was first team all-conference in the Wisconsin Valley, the Valley Football Association. Also, the Wausau West Offensive Lineman of the Year, Channel 7 All-Star as well. The nominee from Wausau East is Pacey Weber. He was the Lumberjack quarterback, helping Wausau East return to varsity football action, leading them to their first victories in a number of years. And Pacey Weber, the nominee from Wausau East. And the Newman Catholic nominee, Matthew Meyer. Matthew Meyer, unfortunately got injured very early in the season. In fact, the first game of the season, but still battled his way back, was part of the team at the end of the season, in fact, as the kicker after a very significant arm injury. And Matthew Meyer, the nominee for Newman Catholic. Very proud to be a member of the committee that votes on the Brockmeyer Award each year, and will be part of the actual Brockmeyer Award ceremony coming up next Friday, a week from this Friday, and we'll find out who the winner of the Win Brockmeyer Memorial Award will be. And my hope is to get these 4 young men on the program next week. Going to be inviting these 4 to come on the show next week here at the Big High School Sports Show in front of the Friday announcement of the winner. It's really an outstanding award. It's been here in Wausau for a number of decades now, and looking forward to seeing who will get the Win Brockmeyer Award that's put on by the Community Foundation of North Central Wisconsin. So I thought I'd share that with you, let you know who the Brockmeyer Award nominees are for each of those 4 schools. Well, let's jump in now to our normal focus here in the winter sports season, basketball and hockey. We'll talk about what's going on in hockey in just a little bit, but we'll start off with boys high school basketball here this week. Wisconsin Valley Conference have not got into the conference play yet. The first conference games in the WVC will be coming up on Friday night. It should be a great night of basketball, some good matchups we'll talk about a little bit later in the program. But right now, you have three teams that are currently undefeated in their non-conference play. You got Wausau East at 5-0, Stevens Point 4-0, Marshfield 2-0. Wausau West right now is 3-2, Merrill 2-1, Wisconsin Rapids 2-3, and DC Everest is 1-3 so far on the season. And looking at some of the action in the WVC and boys high school basketball, you got Stevens Point, as I said, 4-0 on the season. They defeated Triple Falls last Thursday by a score of 74-40, and then the Spash Panthers also earned a win over DeForest last night by a score of 66-55. Grant Shodina, somebody we talked about quite a bit during football season, the outstanding quarterback for the Spash Panthers, who led his team to a Valley Football Association championship. Well, he's off to a good start on the hardwood as well. In the win against Chi High, Shodina had 20 points. Jaron Suis had 16 as well for Stevens Point. And then last night, in that 66-55 win at DeForest, Shodina scored 28 points. So again, just an outstanding multi-sport athlete for Stevens Point. And Stevens Point Panthers looking very strong early in the campaign. Also, as I said, Wausau East is undefeated. The Lumberjacks are 5-0. Again, we will get more on Wausau East and their red-hot start with Jesse Napgezek, our student-athlete guest, coming up at 7 o'clock. But Wausau East, again, had a couple of big wins. On Saturday, the Lumberjacks defeated Green Bay East 93-28. Napgezek had 22 points. Charlie Cayley 17. Caden Worth 12. Jaden Garrett 11. And then last night, a good non-conference road win for Wausau East. They went up to Rhinelander and defeated the Hodags by a score of 82-63. Napgezek again leading the way with 22 points. Caden Worth 17. Jaden Garrett 13. And Jack Barthos had 10. So again, for Wausau East, expectations this season to be competing at or near the top of the conference, and so far so good for East with 5 straight wins to start off their campaign. Marshfield has not played quite as much as everybody else. The Marshfield Tigers have only got 2 games under their belt so far. Some teams take advantage of the Thanksgiving time to play some basketball games. Other teams save some of their non-conference play for a little bit later in the season, and Marshfield, one of those schools. The Marshfield Tigers on Friday of last week earned a solid non-conference win, defeating Holman by a score of 68-59. Brooks Hinson, another one of those really good multi-sport athletes. Saw him again on the gridiron for the Marshfield Tigers, and now right back at it during boys basketball season. Brooks Hinson had 24 points. Chris Pohl had 21 for Marshfield as well. So those 3 teams, East, Spash, and Marshfield, all undefeated going into the conference play. Wausau West last night had a very impressive win. Last night, in fact, I went on the bus with the Wausau West Warriors, took the trek near the state capitol, and Wausau West took on Monona Grove. Monona Grove from the Badger Large Conference. And they earned a massive win in their conference opener last Friday, knocking off Waunakee, who was the defending league champs. They went 14-0 in the conference a year ago and were the favorites going in, with Monona Grove second. So Monona Grove was riding high, but Wausau West went down there and played an outstanding game and won by a score of 74-65. Brett Butala had 23 points, Lucas Hager 18, Bennett Matson 15, and it was a good bounce back for West because last Saturday the Warriors fell at Eau Claire North 56-52, a game the Warriors let get away coming down the stretch, but they executed outstandingly in that road win last night. So again, that was a very impressive win. A long road trip, 2.5 hours on a Tuesday night, and Wausau West was able to come home with a nice W. Merrill is 2-1 on the season. The Blue Jays had a mixed bag in the past week. On Friday, they faced a very good Mosinee squad in a non-conference game, and Mosinee shows why they are one of the top teams expected in the Great Northern Conference, as Mosinee used a big run late in the first half to pull away, and they won it 88-53. Keegan Jersley, Garrett Shoup, and Treve Stoffel, 14 points each for Mosinee. Carter Bade and Tyson Ott each had 10 for Merrill. And then Merrill bounced back last night with a non-conference win at home against Northern Pines. Blue Jays knocked off the Eagles 71-39. Bade again leading the way with 20 points. Sam Ryman 13 and Tyson Ott 11. So Merrill going into their conference opener at versus Wausau West at home on Friday, 2-1 overall. Wisconsin Rapids is 2-3. And one thing about the new look Wisconsin Rapids Lincoln Red Raiders, they are an entertaining team to watch. They are putting up a lot of points, putting up a lot of three-pointers. They've won 2 of their first 5 games. They had a 78-73 loss against Eau Claire North last Thursday. Traden Clary and Brody Gilbertson 23 points each. Sean Reyna 17. Wisconsin Rapids then got a good non-conference win on Monday. Another game in the 70s. Rapids defeated Sparta 72-68. Reyna had 23. Brody Gilbertson 15. Traden Clary 11. So again, something we're noticing right now in the WVC. A lot of these teams with multiple scores in double digits, and having that balance right now I think is significant. Not seeing maybe the hauls like at TC Everest the last few years where you had one kid that's really carrying the teams. We're seeing some balance from some of these squads. And speaking of DC Everest, the Evergreens are 1-3 going into their conference opener against Wausau East on Friday. The Evergreens last Friday fell to Big Rivers Conference foe Eau Claire Memorial 75-61. Cohen Preby had 19 points for DCE. Owen Soul 14. Casey Studeman 13. So again, multiple scores in double figures, but not enough against Eau Claire Memorial for the Evergreens last week. So again, the non-conference part of the schedule has been, I think, fairly good for the WVC teams. But now we're going to start seeing these teams go after each other starting on Friday. And we'll talk about the first night of conference play and more coming up a little bit later on in the program. The Great Northern Conference, right now, they are very early into the conference campaign. You got Lakeland, Northern Pines, and Rhinelander all 1-0 in the conference. Lakeland 2-1 overall, Pines 2-4, Rhinelander 2-1. Mosinee is yet to play a conference game, and they're 3-0 overall. And then you got Antigo, Medford, and Tomahawk. They're all 0-1 in the conference. Antigo 1-3 overall. Medford and Tomahawk are each 0-3. Looking at some of the action in the GNC, in conference play last Friday night, that first night of conference activity, it was Lakeland defeating Medford 57-53. Hockin Birkeland, 14 points. Danny Gaylor, 11 for the Thunderbirds. Charlie Gurl, 17. Connor Klingbeil, 15 for the Medford Raiders. So that was a good start with the new era for Lakeland High School basketball. Rhinelander, they started off their conference campaign with a 56-34 win over Antigo, and Northern Pines defeated Tomahawk 63-24. So those were the first games in the GNC. That was last Friday. Last night, Lakeland earned a non-conference win over Shawamigan, 66-33, and Prentice over Tomahawk by a score of 83-44. Merriwood Conference South, looking at where the conference standings stand at this point, you've got a few teams that are undefeated, not playing a whole lot of basketball up to this point. You got Stratford at 2-0 in the conference, 3-0 overall. Marathon is 1-0 in the conference, 3-0 overall. Edgar just played one game so far. They're 1-0 in the conference, 1-0 overall. You got Wisconsin Rapids Assumption, also undefeated in conference at 1-0. They're 2-1 overall, as is Auburndale, 1-0 in league, 2-1 overall. And Newman Catholic 0-1 in the conference, 1-3 overall. The reason why you see all these teams in the Merriwood South undefeated in the conference is because the crossover games, those games against the Merriwood Conference North Division, they do count in both those conferences' standings. But Merriwood Conference South, a lot of crossover games late last week. Last Thursday night, Athens defeated Newman Catholic. That was the one win for the Merriwood North over the Merriwood South in those crossovers. Athens 68, Newman Catholic 43. Quincy Fender had a big night for the Cards. He had 26 points, but not much else offensively for Newman. For Athens, Ty Johnson and Andy Shire had 13 points each. Also, last Thursday in a Merriwood crossover, finally getting their first game of the season, Edgar. They had a little break because a number of those players, of course, were part of the Edgar High School football team that won a state championship, and Edgar was able to roll Rib Lake 66-36. Tegan Strite, 15 points. Of course, he was a main Guy is part of the football team. Also, Leighton Schuett and Brett Baumgartner at 14 points each for Edgar as they started off their season with a W. And then 4 more Merriwood crossovers on Friday of last week. Marathon defeated Shawamigan 66-35. Grant Warren 16 points. Tyler Underwood 13. True Thurs and Drew Wolfel 11 each. 4 different Red Raiders in double figures. Auburndale got 18 points from Caden Anderson, 14 from Caden Weinferder as they knocked off Abbotsford 59-30. Stratford getting a W, 62-45 over Prentice. Drew Brusowitz, 17 points. Henry Zaleski, 15. Brady Schmidt, 12 for the Stratford Tigers. And Assumption in the most competitive game of the crossovers defeated Phillips, 61-53. Logan Nystrom had 26. Ron Board, 13 for the Royals. And then Monday and Tuesday, there was one more crossover on Tuesday. Stratford defeated Athens 66-35. Drew Brusowitz 18 points. Brady Schmidt 13. So Stratford getting that early second win in the Merriwood South. Some non-conference play Monday and Tuesday. Monday night, a game that I had here on Bull Falls Radio. Marathon rolled Neilsville 68-45. It was a monster game for Grant Warren. The 6'10" senior, 21 points, 18 rebounds, and he added 5 block shots. I thought he had a few more block shots than that on Monday, but Warren 21, 18, and 5. Drew Wolfel at 16 points. Cooper Huxama 10. And also impressive is that Marathon defeated Neilsville without their second leading scorer, Tyler Underwood, who was out due to illness. So again, very solid start for Coach Adam Jacobson and his Marathon Red Raiders. Auburndale, they face Columbus Catholic each year in a very intriguing non-conference game. And this year it was Columbus beating Auburndale 66-55 on Monday. Caden Anderson, 19. Caden Weinferder, 16 for Auburndale. Blake Jacoby, 23. Cy Becker, 22 for an always tough Columbus Catholic Dons. And then last night, also a non-conference game, an old CWCC matchup as the Regis Ramblers defeated the Newman Catholic Cardinals by a score of 62-39. Merriwood Conference North, again, a lot of these teams have losses because they did not win their crossover games. You got Athens and Prentice, 1-1 in the conference. Athens 2-2 overall, 5-1 for Prentice. And then Rib Lake, Phillips, Shawamigan, and Abbotsford all 0-1 in the conference. Rib Lake 3-1 overall, Phillips 2-1, Shawamigan 1-3, and Abbotsford at 1-5. Mentioned all those crossover games already. Some other action involving the Merriwood North. Monday, Abbotsford defeated Greenwood 67-32, and Prentice got past Winter 73-68. And last night as well, Phillips earned a non-conference win over Three Lakes 70-58. Pittsville defeated Abbotsford 49-38. Tomahawk fell to Prentice 83-44, and Rib Lake defeated Owen Withy. CWC North. Northland Lutheran is now 0-3 overall, 0-1 in the conference, and their first conference game went to overtime, and they fell Monday in OT to Marion by a score of 71-68. Also last Thursday, Northland Lutheran lost to Spencer 67-38. So right now in the CWC North, Marion, with the help of that overtime win over Northland Lutheran, is now 2-0 in the conference, 5-0 overall. White Lake, 1-0 in the conference, and then Gresham, Northland, and Tigerton all 0-1. And finally, the CWC East in boys high school basketball. Wittenberg-Burnhamwood started off their conference with a win last night, 49-33 over Iola Scandinavia. Jet Rogowski had 21 points for the Chargers. Oliver Fraser, 12. So Whitburn, 1-0 in the conference, 2-1 overall. Also, Manawa and Bonduel earned conference wins. They're all 1-0. Whitburn, Manawa, and Bonduel. Shiocton and Wyowega Fremont have yet to play conference games, and Amherst, Iola Scandinavia, and Menominee Indian all 0-1 in the CWC East. So that's a look at what's been going on in terms of high school boys basketball. Again, we'll have plenty more high school boys basketball talk at 7 o'clock when we have our student athlete guest for this week from Wausau East High School, their junior leading scorer right now, Jesse Napgezek. Coming up next, and also real quickly, we will look ahead at some of the big games, including the openers in the Wisconsin Valley Conference in boys basketball later on in the program. Coming up next, we will talk about what's been going on in high school girls basketball. All the conferences are underway, so we'll talk about that straight ahead. I'm Chad Holmes, again flying solo tonight as Jeff Gress off at a holiday concert, but still plenty to talk about involving high school sports. More of the Big High School Sports Show coming up here on Bull Falls Radio 98.9 and 1230.
What's your idea of fall fun? Maybe it's hitting the trails on a new ATV. Then it's time to call CCU. That's Clover Belt Credit Union. Or if you're thinking of a UTV for hauling wood or hunting, or maybe just because it would make the tasks around your property so much easier, it's time to call CCU. ATVs, UTVs, utility tractors, and their attachments for care of your property. Whether you need it for fun or to get the job done, Clover Belt Credit Union is here to help with the great rate financing you want. What are you waiting for? Life's too short and winter's too long. Thinking about a motorhome or maybe a snowplow for your ATV or utility tractor? Call CCU for great rate financing. And if you're thinking motorcycle, Clover Belt Credit Union has the financing you need for the bike you want. Call or apply online at ccuwausau.com. Check it out. For vehicle loans, for mortgages, for financing fall fun, call Clover Belt Credit Union. That's CCU. Local lenders lending local money, keeping our community strong.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Wisconsin. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the WIAA and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association.
Parents of class of 2024 seniors, graduation is a few months away. Do you know where your photos are? Melissa Sullivan of Picks and Pieces Photo and Digital Organizing can help. Mel is a professionally trained photo manager who can convert printed photos and outdated media to digital formats, consolidate and organize your digital photo collection, and create custom photo books, gifts, and slideshows. Preserve, organize, and share your priceless family memories today. Call Mel at 715-446-0762 or visit picksandpieces.com today to learn more. Again, that's PIX, the letter N, pieces.com.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck, yes. That'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Wisconsin, because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
Hungry for flavor-packed fun?
Dive into Red Robin's sizzling burgers, mouth-watering fries, and endless options.
Or maybe you're craving the perfect slice.
Then it's Donato's Pizza, your passport to pizza perfection.
Order now and treat yourself to an unforgettable taste experience.
Red Robin and Donato's Pizza, 225548 Rib Mountain Drive in Wausau.
Call 715-301-0019 or log on redrobin.com.
Red Robin and Donato's Pizza.
Yum.
Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230, online at bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. Again, we are very proud to be the only Wausau radio station that still provides play-by-play of high school sports as we cover on a regular basis the Wausau West Warriors, the Newman Catholic Cardinals, and the Marathon Red Raiders, plus every Wednesday 2 hours of high school sports talk right here on the Big High School Sports Sports Show. Again, I'm Chad Holmes, normally joined by Jeff Gress, but Jeff unable to be here tonight. Family obligations, a holiday concert with the family, so Jeff will be back next week. Again, normally at this time we have our coach guest, but due to scheduling, we have moved that back 1 hour. So our two guests both coming up in hour number 2 of the show at 7 o'clock, Wausau East basketball standout Jesse Napgezek, and then at 7:20, Newman Catholic High School girls basketball coach Casey Clausius. And let's talk about high school girls basketball. Start with the Wisconsin Valley Conference. When you look at where we stand in terms of the standings right now, as the conference got underway last night, and winners were Marshfield, Stevens Point, and Wisconsin Rapids. They're all 1-0 in the conference. Marshfield 4-1 overall, Stevens Point 2-4, Wisconsin Rapids 2-2. Then you have Wausau West yet to play a conference game, 1-3 overall. Merrill is 0-1 along with East and DC Everest in the conference. Merrill 3-2 overall. Wausau East 3-4 and DC Everest 1-4. Looking at the action involving some of these teams in the past week, let's start off right at the end with last night's action because it was the first night of conference play, and we had 3 games in the WVC. And the defending conference champion, Stevens Point, went to Wausau East, and we had a chance to talk a lot about Wausau East High School girls basketball last week. But East came up short, but again, showing a lot more offense and making strides. Wausau East in the recent years had not been able to really compete with Stevens Point, and last night the Lumberjacks definitely did that. Stevens Point won a high-scoring affair by a score of 86-73 over at the Wausau East gym. Adelie Nest, outstanding guard for the Panthers, scored 27 points in that game. Wausau East got some big numbers from Claire Cushman and Sydney Crawford. Cushman had 29 points, Crawford 20. Both teams had double-digit three-pointers. So, again, for offensive fans, it was a good night at Wausau East, but Stevens Point able to hold off the Lumberjacks 86-73. Also last night, it was a rough start for the conference campaign for DC Everest. They went to Wisconsin Rapids and fell by a score of 68-28. Marshfield, I think a team that early on considered the preseason favorite. They played host to Merrill last night, and the Blue Jays played tough in Marshfield but came up short. Marshfield 56, Merrill 47. Sophie Wendorf had 14 points for the Blue Jays. Kayla Clevereau had 12 for Merrill. Ashley Grankovich led the way for Marshfield with 18 points. Ayana Busum had 12 points as well for the Tigers. So again, Marshfield knocked off Merrill 56-47. And there was a non-conference game for Wausau West last night. They had the conference bye, and the Warriors fell to Chippewa Falls by a score of 51-43. It was a tale of two halves. The Warriors led by 7, 31-24 at halftime, but it was all Chippewa Falls in the second half as West could only score 12 points, got outscored 27-12 in the final 18 minutes. Ayla Christensen had 16 points for West. Harper Mead added 9 for the Warriors. Some of the non-conference action that these teams played before last night. Last Thursday, DC Everest fell to Mosinee 67-36. Kirsten Hall, Clara Pyatt had 10 points for DCE. Taylon Jershly led the way for Mosinee with 21 points. Also last Thursday, Merrill in a non-conference game defeated Florence by a score of 54-31. Sophie Wendorf had 26 points. Grace Ryman 10 for the Blue Jays. And then on Friday, Marshfield knocked off La Crosse Central 59-47. As I said, Ashley Grankovich had the leading scorer for the Tigers last night. She was also the leading scorer last Friday. She had 22 points in that game. Ayana Busum had 15 points as well for Marshfield. Stevens Point last Friday defeated Holman 71-46. Adelie Nest, 32 points in that game. Jada Seibert had 22 for Stevens Point. And Wisconsin Rapids last Friday fell in a non-conference game to New London 52-25. And Saturday, Wausau East in a non-conference game defeated Green Bay East 63-40. Claire Cushman 20 points, Sydney Crawford 16, and Grayson Berger 10 for Wausau East. So now into the conference campaign in the WVC in girls basketball, and some more interesting conference matchups coming up on Friday. We'll talk about those games coming up a little bit later on in the program. Great Northern Conference, and I think, again, as we've talked about so far in the last couple of weeks, by and far the favorite in this league is Lakeland. Lakeland Thunderbirds, they are 2-0 right now in the conference. They're 5-1 overall. Also undefeated in the conference at this early point is Rhinelander. The Hodags are 2-0. They're 4-2 in the conference. You got Northern Pines, 1-0 in the conference, 3-2 overall. Antigo is 1-1 in the league. Red Robins are 2-3 overall. Mosinee is 0-1 in the conference, and right now they're in 5th place. But I think ultimately, when all is said and done, that Mosinee will be closer to the top than anywhere else. Of course, their only conference game was against Lakeland. Mosinee 4-2 overall, and then Medford and Tomahawk are each 0-2 in the GNC on the girls' side. Medford 2-5 overall. Tomahawk is 0-4. Some of the action involving GNC teams in the past week. Last Friday, there were conference games, and Rhinelander defeated Antigo 66-45. Auburn Clark, who's been a consistent scorer so far this season for the Hodags, led the way with 24 points. Lakeland doing what Lakeland has done so far in the conference for the most part. They nearly doubled up Medford on Friday, winning 63-32. Another monster night for Christina Wamette. She had 31 points, pulled down 10 rebounds, and added 7 assists. So again, Christina Wamette is going to be a handful for anybody in the Great Northern Conference during the course of the 2023-2024 basketball season. And Northern Pines got their first win of the season, their first conference game. That defeated Tomahawk 41-14. Monday night, Lakeland had a non-conference game against Ashland, and made it well worth their time. 82-18, Lakeland over Ashland. Christina Wamette had 28 points and dished out 10 assists. Bobby Lee added 17 points as well for the Thunderbirds. And then last night, again, non-conference action involving the Great Northern Conference girls. Antigo Red Robins right now, as I said, they're 1-1 in the conference. They're 2-3 overall. They've been struggling for a few years, but got a win last night, 53-39 over Green Bay East. Northern Pines edged Florence 37-36. That's a good win for Pines because that puts them over 500 overall at 3-2. And Medford, they've been struggling a bit. Medford Raiders now 2-5 on the season. They've lost to Menominee 87-29. Merriwood Conference South. And you got 3 teams right now undefeated in that conference. Assumption, they are undefeated overall at 5-0. They're 3-0 in the conference. Stratford, a year ago, Stratford Tigers on the girls' side won a grand total of 4 games. This season, they've already got 3. They're 3-0 in the conference, 3-1 overall. And Auburndale is 2-0 in the conference, 3-0 overall. Then you got Edgar at 2-2 in the Merriwood South, 4-2 overall. Newman Catholic 1-3 in the league, 1-5 overall. Marathon 1-3 in the league, 1-5 overall. Again, like the boys, any games between Merriwood Conference South Division schools and Merriwood Conference North Division schools do count in the league standings for both. And in the Merriwood South last Friday, 6 crossover games between the Merriwood South and the Merriwood North. And in those 6, the Merriwood South, they won 5 of the 6 games. You had Assumption defeating Phillips, and Assumption got tested by Phillips. Phillips only 1 loss on the season. They're 5-1, now 3-1 in the Merriwood North, and they gave Assumption all they could handle. 74-66 win for the Assumption Royals. Jordan Jaglinski had 19 points for Assumption. Sarah Shaw 18 for the Royals. Casey Egebrecht scored 22 points for Phillips. So, again, those are 2 teams that could be meeting again when you get to the postseason. You never know because both, I think, should be very, very good in Division 5. You had Marathon earning that first win of the season on Friday and the 300th career win for head coach Jeff Schneider. So congratulations to Coach Jeff Schneider, who's been such a terrific head man for Marathon for a couple of decades. Marathon defeated Chequamegon on Friday by a score of 60-18. Also on Friday, Edgar defeated Rib Lake 47-34. Michaela Workus had 21 points to lead the way for the Wildcats. Addison Gums had 10 for Rib Lake. It was Stratford over Prentice 53-32. Again, as Stratford 3-0 in the Merriwood Conference South Division. Carly Pankratz 15, Kayla Casperson 10 for the Tigers. And Auburndale last Friday in a crossover beat Abbotsford 35-28. More of a football score, but Abbotsford got Auburndale got the win. Rose Hassanoro had 10 points for the Eagles. And the one game that was won by a Merriwood Conference North team in the crossovers on Friday, it was Athens defeating Newman Catholic 63-47. Lily Shields had 18 points for the Cards. Evie Bates had 11 for Newman. Big nights for Sophia Coker and Giselle Hartwig. Those two have been consistently double-digit performers for Athens, and Coker put up 30 points in that game Friday. Hartwig had 18 for the Blue Jays. And then last night, in a game that was here on Bull Falls Radio, 98-9 to 12:30, Newman Catholic got that first win, winning at Marathon, 37-31. Lily Shields, 14 for the Cards. Kylie Halkey at 10 for the Red Raiders. We'll talk more about that game and the victory for Newman Catholic when we talk to their head coach, Casey Clausius, coming up at 7:20 this evening. Also last night, there was another Merriwood Conference South matchup as Stratford defeated Edgar by a score of 31-22. Low-scoring affair, but the Tigers beat their rival Wildcats. Tria Tubbs had 13 for Stratford. So that's a look at what happened in the Merriwood South. Mentioned the crossovers, but the Merriwood North, you have Phillips and Athens are both 3-1 in the conference. Phillips 5-1 overall. Athens 3-4. You got Prentice at 2-2 in the conference. The Buccaneers are 2-4 overall. Both Abbotsford and Rib Lake are 1-3 in the conference. Abbey is 2-4 overall. Rib Lake 3-4. And Chequamegon is 0-4 in the conference, 1-5 overall. Already mentioned the crossover games, but last night there was a significant game in the Merriwood North between Phillips and Athens. Phillips came in with that loss against Assumption. Athens was 3-0 in the conference because they had the crossover win against Newman. But Phillips moved even in the conference in first place, rolling over Athens 77-52. Sophia Coker, 18. Giselle Hartwig, 17 for Athens, but it was not enough. So that means Phillips and Athens, now both 3-1, tied atop the Merriwood Conference North. Also last night, a good win for Abbotsford. A little surprised by this one. The Abbey Falcons had not won in the Merriwood yet, but they went into that always tough little gym at Rib Lake. And Abbotsford won on the road over Rib Lake 52-39. And Prentice up north beat Chequamegon by a score of 64-52. CWC North and Lutheran is 0-1 in the conference. They're 2-3 overall. You got Boulder and Gresham 1-0 in the conference. Marion and Northland 0-1. Tigerton and White Lake have yet to play conference games. Last Thursday, in a non-conference game, Northland Lutheran defeated Nakusa by a score of 36-25. Jocelyn Adams led the way for the Wildcats with 18 points. That was last Thursday night. Then right back at it last Friday was Northland taking on Gresham in a conference game. It was tight for a while. In fact, it was 32-28. Gresham with only a 4-point lead at the intermission, but it was all Gresham in the second half. They outscored Northland Lutheran 38-10 in the final 18 minutes and pulled away for a 70-38 win. Jocelyn Adams again led the way for Northland with 15 points. Other games involving the CWC North on Friday, Boulder defeated Marion 53-14. So Boulder 1-0 in the conference, Marion 0-1. Gresham earned a nice non-conference win. Whenever CWC North teams play either, CWC South or CWC East, usually it's a smaller school against a bigger school. And Gresham beat Iola Scandinavia 48-39 in a non-conference game on Monday. Last night, Northern Lutheran got a non-conference win, 53-16 over Port Edwards. And Marion in a non-conference game against Faith Christian of Wausau. Again, it's interesting to see Faith Christian start to develop their athletic programs, and they're playing quite a few games against CWC North teams as they are currently an independent. And last night, Marion defeated Faith Christian by a score of 38-16. And another team we're keeping an eye on during the course of the winter sports season in girls basketball is the Wittenberg-Burnhamwood Chargers. And Whitburn, they are undefeated. They're 6-0 overall. They're 1-0 in the conference, but they barely got a W in their conference opener as Wittenberg-Burnhamwood edged Shiocton in overtime last Friday by a score of 64-62. It looked like it was going to be easy for Whitburn. They led by 14 points at halftime, but then Shiocton rallied to force the OT where Whitburn outscored the Chiefs 8-5 in the extra session. Milena Granquist had 24 points and 9 rebounds. Rory Salveson, 17 points and 8 rebounds for Whitburn in that game. And then Whitburn on Monday, a non-conference game, and they easily rolled past 3 Lakes Phelps by a score of 63-12. Salveson had 24 points in that game. Grandquist 13. So looking at the CWC East, you got Wittenberg, Burnhamwood, Bondwell, Manawa, and Wyowega Fremont. They're all 1-0 in the conference. Whitburn 6-0 overall. Bondwell 3-2. Manawa 2-2. And Wyowega Fremont 4-3. And then Amherst, Iola Scandinavia, Shiocton, and Menominee Indian are all 0-1 in the conference. Amherst is 3-3 overall. Menominee Indian 2-4, Shiocton 1-4, and Iola Scandinavia 0-6. Again, we'll take a look at some of the significant matchups coming up later in the week and into the weekend in high school girls basketball a little bit later on in the program. But coming up next, we're going to talk some hockey. It's a big hockey week. Of course, the annual Marathon Cup tournament is starting tomorrow night at Marathon Park. We'll talk about what's been going on the ice in high school hockey coming up next. I'm Chad Holmes again, without Jeff Gress tonight. Jeff, again, family obligations, which is definitely more important, but he'll be back next week. But we'll have more coming up. Big High School Sports Show, Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230.
We are the NFHS. That stands for the National Federation of State High School Associations. But really, what we stand for, together with the WIAA, are the 178,000 high school sports students in Wisconsin. And so we stand. We stand for the runners, soccer and basketball players. We stand for their coaches, administrators, and officials. We stand for the swimmers, football players, and wrestlers. We stand for the golfers, softball, and volleyball players. We stand as the national leader and advocate for high school athletics and all who participate in them and make them possible. Because it is our purpose to ensure that high school students get to play, perform, and compete together. To learn more about who we are and what we stand for, visit nfhs.org.
Take your career to the next level with Graphic Packaging International. Work with a team to make Hot Pocket sleeves and the food trays you find at our local fair. Join the GPI team and experience the benefits of one of the highest paying manufacturers in the area, starting at almost $22.55 per hour. Enjoy job security, a clean facility, and an excellent benefits package, including a week of vacation after 4 months and 2 weeks after a year. Apply today at graphicpkg.com and elevate your career with Graphic Packaging.
Fall sports are here. Align your young athletes and yourself with health by scheduling an appointment with Dr. Sarah at Shine Chiropractic in Rim Mountain. Stay in the game with our comprehensive 3-point neurological exam, safe for the entire family. Don't let the daily grind keep you and your student athletes on the sidelines this year. Call Dr. Sarah at 715-298-5104. That's 715-298-5104 in Rim Mountain today.
So, how are the kids?
Well, Emily made the honor roll.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah, we're really proud of her. Tyler, on the other hand, though.
What's going on?
He's been moody lately, just feeling down and not like himself.
Oh, we've been there. Nick was struggling last spring. He was so anxious and stressed.
Really? What helped?
Well, he joined the soccer team. And ever since, he's been a lot happier. He has more energy, he's less stressed, and he's definitely in a better mood at home. It's made a huge difference.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad he's getting out of the house, he's getting some exercise, and he's off his phone for once. It's been good for his mental health.
Sounds like it's been good for your mental health, too.
Participating in Wisconsin high school sports improves students' physical and mental health. Encourage your son or daughter to get involved. This message presented by the WIAA and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association.
Back here for the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. Online at bullfallsradio.com. Mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO. And on the Civic Media app. Chad Holmes again by myself here tonight without a co-host, but we'll have Jeff Grass back next week. But we do have our guest coming up in the next hour, again at 7 o'clock. Our student-athlete guest for this week, Wausau East Boys Basketball Junior Jesse Napgezek. And then at 7:20, our coach guest for this week from Newman Catholic, their first-year girls basketball coach, Casey Clausius. So again, Jesse Napgezek coming up at 7, and Casey Clausius coming up at 7:20 here on the Big High School Sports Show. We talked boys basketball, what's been going on. We've talked girls basketball. Now let's talk some hockey as the hockey season is getting into full swing, both on the boys and the girls side. Let's start off with the girls this time because the Central Wisconsin Storm, again, off to a very good start. I had my first chance to see the Storm. Our first broadcast came last Thursday. Went over to Medford as the Storm took on the Edgar Raiders, and it looks like, again, a Storm hockey team again. Whether, they've had coaching changes this season. Jana Wimmer back. She's a former head coach. And she looks like she's got her team playing very, very well. It was a very impressive 8-1 win over Medford last Thursday, and the Storm backed it up on Saturday, playing their first home game at Greenheck Fieldhouse. They had played a couple of games in Mosinee to start off the season, and on Saturday, the Storm defeated the Metro Lynx of Madison by a score of 7-1. So far, in the first 4 games of the year, all victories for the Central Wisconsin Storm. Central Wisconsin has scored 23 goals, allowed just 3. So 23-3 edge in the first 4 games. Central Wisconsin, of course, features one of the best goaltenders in the state. A year ago, Central Wisconsin, I would say, had the best 2 goaltenders in the state, but of course, graduation changes things up, and now just 1. And obviously doing exceptionally well is Claire Kalmus, the outstanding junior. She has started off her season with 3 wins in 3 starts, 3-0 record, has saved 47 of the 49 shots she has faced, a .959 save percentage, .67 goals against. So again, defensively looking very solid is Central Wisconsin. And offensively, big start for Tristan Wickland. She was one of our guests just a few weeks ago, our student-athlete guest, between the end of volleyball, where she was an outstanding performer for Mosinee, and now back on the ice with the Central Wisconsin Storm. Tristan Wickland in the first 4 games has already scored 5 goals, added 3 assists for 8 points. But other multi-goal scorers already. Kayla Garum has 3 goals. Ava Whitmore 3 goals as well. Each also has a couple of assists for 5 points. Jaden Yurkovsky has 2 goals and 3 assists for Central Wisconsin. Gabby Heiser, in that game I did against Medford, she recorded a hat trick, so she has 3 goals on the season. Julia DeBile has recorded multiple goals, already has 2 goals as well. So, again, spreading the wealth offensively right now, the Central Wisconsin Storm. And the Storm coming up, they will be participating in a tournament down at the University School of Milwaukee Friday and Saturday. A potential matchup again with Hayward in the second game, but they face Arrowhead on Friday, and then the championship round of that tournament on Saturday. And then next Tuesday, they travel to Eau Claire to take on the Eau Claire Area Stars. I'll be heading over to Hobbs Ice Arena in Eau Claire next Tuesday. We will have that game for you, an early start, a 5 o'clock face-off here on Bow Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. So, again, we'll see the Storm again next Tuesday night here on WXCO. Boys hockey. We've seen a lot of boys hockey so far. The Wausau West Warriors have played 6 games. We've had 5 of them here on Bow Falls Radio, and it's very early in the Wisconsin Valley Conference season. But so far, it looks like, again, it's going to be Stevens Point and Wausau West. Stevens Point 2-0 in the conference. Wausau West 2-0 in the conference. Everybody else has already lost at least once. Spash is 2-0-1 overall. Wausau West is 3-3 overall. Then you have Wisconsin Rapids at 1-1 in the conference, 2-1 overall. DC Everest and East Merrill United, each 0-1 in the conference. Evergreens are 2-4 overall. Blue Jacks are 0-5. And the Marshfield Tigers are 0-2 in the conference. They've had the unfortunate opportunity to face Point and West in their first 2 conference games, and they lost both by rather large margins. Marshfield 0-2 in the conference, 2-4 overall. Looking at some of the action in the Wisconsin Valley Conference on the ice, Stevens Point played their first game of the season last Thursday, and they were ready to go. They went into Marshfield, defeated the Tigers 10-0. Jackson Schrader, one of the top snipers in the area, he recorded a hat trick all in the first period. So he came out there, got 3 goals in the first period, and sparked Stevens Point to that victory. Wausau West, they were in action in the southeastern part of the state this past weekend. Hope you caught the games Friday night and Saturday here on WXCO. On Friday, the Warriors beat Waukesha 2-1. Brody Brimacombe and Caden Boleen each had goals for the Warriors. Boleen got the game winner in the third period. And then on Saturday, not quite as successful as the Warriors fell at University School of Milwaukee by a score of 4-1. Brimacombe had the only goal for Wausau West. Also, some non-conference games before we talk about the conference activity from last night. Like Wausau West, DC Everest went down to Southeast Wisconsin over the weekend for games on Friday and Saturday. On Friday, the Evergreens lost at Milwaukee Marquette 3-0. It was a scoreless game until the third period when Marquette scored 3 times to earn the win. Gavin Smith stopped 26 shots in that game for DC Everest. And then on Saturday, it was Waukesha defeating the Evergreens 6-2. Thomas Passano and Adam McKeag had goals for DCE. And also a big non-conference game on Saturday. Stevens Point at home took on the defending state champion Notre Dame Academy. And it turned out to be everything people expected it to be. Turned out to be a 2-2 tie. Stevens Point 2, Notre Dame Academy 2. Maxime Salienko and Grady Miller had goals for Stevens Point. Mason Sperlin was very good in net for the Panthers, stopping 35 shots. So that was all the non-conference game. Then last night, the Wisconsin Valley Conference on the ice hit the ice with 3 conference games. And the best of the 3 was down in Wisconsin Rapids. Overtime at Southwood County as Wisconsin Rapids edged DC Everest 4-3 in the extra session. 3 goals were scored by Wisconsin Rapids in the second period to take a 3-1 lead. Everest came back with goals in the third period, 2 goals within a minute to tie it up. And then in overtime, Griffin Schindler got the game winner just under 5 minutes into the extra session for Wisconsin Rapids. Adam McKeag had 2 goals for DCE and a big night between the pipes for Griffin Bunnell. The sophomore stopped 47 of the 51 shots he saw, but unfortunately for him and for DC Everest, the 51st shot ended up in the back of the net. So Rapids got the 500 in the conference, 1-1 with that 4-3 overtime win over DC Everest. The other 2 games were not tight. You had Wausau West going to 2-0 in the conference, playing their first home game, and for the first time this season, the offense exploded for the Warriors. In the first 5 games for Wausau West, they had scored 3 goals or less. In fact, they scored 3 goals in one game, and they scored 2 goals or less in the other 4. But last night, Wausau West scored 9 goals, all in the first 2 periods, en route to a 9-1 win over Marshfield. And a little bit of revenge for Wausau West. It was Marshfield that pulled off the big upset last spring when they eliminated Wausau West in the first round game in the playoffs, 2-0 at Marathon Park. So the Warriors, they made sure that did not happen again. 9-1 last night. Caden Boleen had a hat trick for Wausau West. Brody Brimacombe and Hendricks Domro had 2 goals apiece as well for the Warriors. Boleen has played in only 3 games, now has 4 goals, and Brimacombe has 6 goals in the first 6 games of the season for Wausau West. And speaking of putting up a lot of offensive numbers, Stevens Point, they defeated East Merrill United by a score of 18-0. There were 11 different goal scorers for Stevens Point. To be honest with you, again, not seeing the game in person, you hate to see when you get a number like that. And at the same time, you don't know what happened, but boy, oh boy, 18 goals. At some point, you hope to take the foot off the neck, but nevertheless, Stevens Point now 2-0-1 overall and 2-0 in the Wisconsin Valley Conference. Great Northern Conference in terms of action, and looking at the standings first, you got Tomahawk, Lakeland, and Wapaka are all 1-0 in the GNC on the ice. Tomahawk 4-1, Lakeland 2-1, Wapaka 5-2. Then Mosinee and Antigo are each 1-1 in the GNC. Mosinee 3-1, Antigo 1-3. And then Northern Pines and Medford are both 0-1 in the conference. Pines is 1-3 overall, and Medford is 1-4. Last Thursday, it was interesting. I think a bit of an upset as Mosinee went up to Minocqua and fell to the Lakeland Thunderbirds by a score of 5-1. Matt Hagert had a hat trick for Lakeland. Ethan Oltman, the only goal for Mosinee. So again, that was a big win for Lakeland to start off the campaign, winning by a score of 5-1. Also in the GNC on Thursday, it was Tomahawk beating Rhinelander 11-4. Antigo rolled up 10 goals in a 10-3 win over Medford, and Wapaka edged Northern Pines 3-1. Last night, Mosinee, you knew they were going to have a response. They had that tough loss against Lakeland on Thursday, and they did have the response. and they defeated Antigo by a score of 11-3 last night. And the thing that jumped out about that game, and again, I would be curious to see it, because sometimes in hockey, the person that counts the shots can be a little bit off. But according to the stats of that game, Mosinee put up 90 shots on goal. I've never seen a game in our area where a team put up 90 shots on net. And Mosinee put up 90 on goal, beating Antigo 11-3. Ethan Oatman had a hat trick for the Indians as they get back to 500 in the Great Northern Conference. Also last night, involving GNC teams, it was Northern Pines over Shawano Bonduel 7-3, Wapaka beat Fox Cities 5-2, Medford over Shawamigan 10-2, and Pacelli over Rhinelander 7-4. Looking ahead in terms of hockey, and as I said earlier, it's always a big week. The Marathon Cup semifinals tomorrow night, and then the consolation and championship rounds will be held on Saturday. And this year a little bit different. Again, for the last quarter century or so, since Greenheck Fieldhouse opened back in 1997, the Marathon Cup tournament has been held at DC Everest. But this year, because of all that construction going on over at DCE, they have moved the tournament. It's going to be played tomorrow night at Marathon Park, the semifinals, and then the final rounds will be played in Mosinee on Saturday. And tomorrow, the semifinals, the first game at 5:30 at Marathon Park, East Merrill United will take on Mosinee, and the second semifinal will be DC Everest and Wausau West. The second game between Everest and West will be broadcast live right here on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230, bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app starting approximately 7:20. Depends on the length of the first game. So tune in probably anytime after 7, or never turn it off. Keep it on this station all the time, but we'll have coverage, face-off schedule for 7:30 tomorrow night at Marathon Park. Also tomorrow night, interesting matchup, Stevens Point. We said that last Saturday they had a very good non-conference game against defending state champion Notre Dame Academy. They face another very good team from the eastern part of the state tomorrow. They travel to Bayport to take on the Bayport Pirates. Marshfield is at Oshkosh tomorrow night on the ice, and Wisconsin Rapids looking to get another W after that OT win over Everest last night. They will host Black River Falls. And then, as I said, Saturday, Marathon Cup consolation and championship involving these teams. And then Tuesday, the Marathon Cup round 3. Whoever you don't play either tomorrow or Saturday in the Marathon Cup, you then face off on Tuesday. So everybody faces each other by the time we get through next Tuesday. So we know that West and Everest and East Merrill United and Mosinee play Thursday. Whoever you don't play on Saturday, then you play on Tuesday of next week. Also, Wisconsin Rapids, a good non-conference trip to Eau Claire North, and Marshfield is at Wapaka. So, again, if you have an opportunity, get on over to Marathon Park tomorrow or to the Mosinee Rec Center on Saturday. Marathon Cup, always great to see fan bases from Wausau West and from Wausau East and Merrill, from DC Everest and from Mosinee, all getting together in one location. Well, we're going to have a big hour coming up. We have our guest coming up in about 20 minutes or so. Our coach guest this week, Newman Catholic girls basketball coach Casey Clausius will join us. But coming up next, he's already arrived. He's sitting across from me, part of the 5-0 Wausau East boys basketball team, will be joined by their current leading scorer, Jesse Napgezek. That's coming up next. It's the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230.
If you're looking for your next ride, check out Menke GMC in Schofield. Formerly Fred Miller Automotive, Menke GMC serves Schofield, Wausau, Marshfield, and Stevens Point with a huge selection of new and pre-owned vehicles. Explore a range of top-notch SUVs like Acadia, Terrain, and Yukon, or choose from the rugged Sierra truck lineup, or even a certified pre-owned vehicle. No matter your dream vehicle awaits at Menke GMC, 448 Grand Avenue in Schofield, and online at menkeauto.com. Menke GMC in Schofield, where your journey begins.
For more than 60 years, Sun Printing has been Central Wisconsin's commercial printer of choice due to their commitment to quality, creative solutions, and dedicated service. Sun Printing's team offers you a wide spectrum of services, whether you need vehicle graphics, offset, digital, large format, graphic design, or mailing. They print everything under the sun. No project is too big or too small, so give Sun Printing a call at 845-4911 or visit them online at sunprinting.com.
We are the NFHS. That stands for the National Federation of State High School Associations. But really, what we stand for, together with the WIAA, are the 178,000 high school sports students in Wisconsin. And so we stand. We stand for the runners, soccer and basketball players. We stand for their coaches, administrators, and officials. We stand for the swimmers, football players, and wrestlers. We stand for the golfers, softball, and volleyball players. We stand as the national leader and advocate for high school athletics and all who participate in them and make them possible. Because it is our purpose to ensure that high school students get to play, perform, and compete together. To learn more about who we are and what we stand for, visit nfhs.org.
Hungry for flavor-packed fun?
Dive into Red Robin's sizzling burgers, mouth-watering fries, and endless options.
Or maybe you're craving the perfect slice.
Then it's Donato's Pizza, your passport to pizza perfection.
Order now and treat yourself to an unforgettable taste experience.
Red Robin and Donato's Pizza, 225548 Rib Mountain Drive in Wausau.
Call 715-301-0019 or log on redrobin.com.
Red Robin and Donato's Pizza.
Parents of class of 2024 seniors, graduation is a few months away. Do you know where your photos are? Melissa Sullivan of Picks and Pieces Photo and Digital Organizing can help. Mel is a professionally trained photo manager who can convert printed photos and outdated media to digital formats, consolidate and organize your digital photo collection, and create custom photo books, gifts, and slideshows. Preserve, organize, and share your priceless family memories today. Call Mel at 715-446-0762 or visit picksandpieces.com today to learn more. Again, that's PIX, the letter N, pieces.com. And welcome back. It's the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230, online at bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO. Hour number 2 of the program, and each week in hour number 2, we start off by talking to our student-athlete guest. And this week from Wausau East High School, junior Jesse Napgezek. And Jesse, first of all, thanks for popping on over.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And I tell you, it's got to be nice to talk about it because you're 5-0 on the season.
Yep.
And especially last night because I think in terms of the early season, the two games that kind of jump out, New London, going on the road, winning there, and then going up north to Rhinelander. And Rhinelander's never easy. I guess we'll start right there. Going up there, winning by 19 points, jumping out to, I think, about a 20-point lead at halftime. What was working last night for your team?
Yeah, I mean, we just started off really strong. It was a hot start, and we kind of just kept the lead throughout the whole thing. It's always a great atmosphere to play in Rhinelander, and, yeah, it was a good game.
Looking at the season so far, 5 games, 5 wins. You got a lot of experienced players back because your group, for the most part, was together for the last year, and it's been growing together. Do you feel as though, and I said it before we went on the air, you got the bruises to prove it. You had to go through some probably tougher times to get to this point. What did you find out during maybe the tougher times that you're using to your advantage so far this season? What has your team maybe learned that's allowing maybe where a game that could be a close loss is turning into a Wausau East victory?
Yeah, I think we really learned how to play with each other through those hard times. You know, we struggled a lot, like last year and a couple of years back, but we've learned to play with each other and get through those hard times. And first 5 games, we started off pretty well.
Looking at your game, in your process, where are you better right now than maybe when you first started your varsity career? After the games and the minutes and the reps you put in, what are the areas you feel like you made the biggest strides up to this point? And obviously, as a junior or just 5 games into the season, you still have a lot of room to grow. But where have you gotten better maybe in the last year plus?
Yeah, I think I've become a lot more aggressive, attacking the rim and passing it out and opening driving lanes for your teammates and open shots for your teammates really helps you out too.
Looking at the squad, something I've noticed, in terms of looking at results and what your team has been able to do is that while you're getting, a pretty good chunk every night, I think averaging maybe a little more than 20 points per game up to this point, it feels like there's always 3 and 4 Lumberjacks in double figures. And that's one of the good things when you're putting up 80-plus points in a game, that there's a lot of points being put up and you can spread it out pretty nicely. It does look like a group that has a number of different options. Before we talk about maybe your teammates, I imagine as somebody that does like to put it in the hole, that having others that are capable makes your job a whole lot easier.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We have a lot of great scorers on our team, and being able to pass the ball around and, swing into the corner and knows that someone can knock down the shot, it's great. Passing the ball around, everyone can score.
Let's talk about some of your other teammates. Who are the other guys that you look at as leaders, both in terms of what they do on the court and maybe even in the locker room, in the hallway, and just leaders that are taking this team in the right direction?
Yeah, when I think leaders, I think of our 2 guards, Isaac and Jaden. They really, hold each other accountable, hold everyone accountable, and they're very vocal on the court and in the locker room, getting everyone hype and make sure everyone has the right mindset before the games.
Isaac Rozwadowski and Jaden Garrett. Just for people out there who are following as tightly Wausau East basketball, but I'm sure the wins keep coming. They'll be watching much closer. That's interesting. So for the guards to be the leaders, I think that's always a good thing for a basketball team, because obviously, in a sense, they start to play much like a quarterback in the football field. Does that help by having your guards to be guys you can kind of lean on? Because when things are getting tough, you put the ball in the hand of the guards, it probably just calms things down, doesn't it?
Yeah, it definitely does.
Before we talk a little bit more about the basketball aspect, I got to ask you, because part of this is, we generally talk about high school sports, and you were part of the East football team this year, and you were, a receiver, had double-digit catches this season in the conference. And the thing about East football this year is, beyond the record, beyond just the 2 wins, which were outstanding, is just getting East back on the field for varsity football. What has that process been like? I mean, how difficult was it to keep working at the football aspect? And obviously, being a multi-sport athlete, it's a little different. But going through the tough times where you didn't have that, I would say, carrot on a Friday night to play a varsity football game, you have to wait multiple years to do it. How did that, I would call it adversity, help you maybe as an individual grow, even beyond what you accomplished on the football field, accomplished here on the basketball court, but going through some adversity? I imagine that was not easy, but in the end, it's probably taught you a few lessons.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's about perseverance. I mean, last year and even the year before, we only had a JV team or 8-man or whatever it was, and you got to just see past it. And I think it was a great group of guys who just stuck with it and stuck with our coaches, and it was really like a brotherhood. So, we got into our varsity season this year. It was great.
I want to ask you about that first game, because, again, actually the first week of the season before that game, I had Coach Kramer on the program and was talking to him, and going into it, from the outside, you kind of wonder, hey, what's going to happen with the East? Because they've had issues even, when they were starting seasons, having issues getting them done. But he sat across from me and was very confident. I mean, it sounded like he knew you guys were going to go up north and win that football game in week 1. Was that maybe the attitude, especially in the summer when you're going through the off-season workouts and then 7-on-7 or whatever it may be during the summer, then practice starting? Was there always that sense of confidence that it was going to be different, that this is a different Wausau East football program?
Yeah, for sure. I think every year we go in having a different mindset, like this is going to be our year. And having that confidence is a great way to, go into the season, and picking up that first win in Lakeland really helped us.
What was the bus ride like home? Because I imagine that must have been incredibly fun.
Yeah, it was great. It was really great. Having that first varsity win under our belt, that was great.
Again, we are talking to Jesse Napgezek from Wausau East High School, junior, on the 5-0 Wausau East boys basketball team. Also was a member of the Wausau East football team. I think had 11 catches, if I'm not mistaken, in conference play this year. Are you involved in any other sports, or is it just the 2?
I'm doing track this year, yeah.
What do you do in track?
It's going to be my first year. I think I'm going to do high jump.
If you have success in one sport, and obviously going from football to basketball this year, having good feelings about your football season, having positive moments, does that momentum help you go into a completely different sport?
Yeah, I think it does. I think some of it translates, and I'm going into the track season really just trying to get faster, trying to get stronger and better. And I mean, I haven't really done track for, so I'm kind of using it to focus on my 2 other favorite sports. So,
Sure.
Yeah.
Between football and basketball, what's your favorite?
My favorite would have to be basketball, the season I'm in right now.
Why basketball? What is it about the game that? Because it's more than just going out there and playing in the games. You have to work at it in order to develop your skills, and in order to work hard, you have to have that love for the game. What is it about basketball that keeps you working hour after hour and trying to take those steps forward?
Yeah, I've had a basketball in my hands ever since I can remember. I love the game. I love the feeling. I love the team. The team aspect is great. Getting a win and playing with your teams it's a great feeling.
Before we ask you about some of the Wisconsin Valley Conference and going into that on Friday, let's step away from sports for a moment. When you have a chance to get away, when you want to just relax a little bit, what do you like to do?
Well, normally I just like Sundays, wake up, watch football. Sunday is normally my rest day,
right.
So watch football and hang out with my dogs. I have 2 dogs and I love them. They're
great. What kind of dogs do you got?
Aussie Doodle and shoot, they're both very similar. They're both doodles. One's tan and one's white. They're great.
What's their names?
Lewis and Rosie.
Very good. You have a favorite class?
I do. I like pre-calc IB. I'm kind of a math guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Have you got, again, you have so much time left in high school yet, but it does go by quickly. Have you thought about the future at this point? And again, I'm not holding you to anything because, even though it's going to be, out there, but have you any maybe dreams in terms of maybe what you'd like to study at the next level and maybe even career after that?
Yeah, I've thought about it a little bit. I mean, I'm thinking of math for like a career exploration because that's like kind of my main skill set.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking into like being an actuary or going into finance, but I really just want to play college basketball, see if I can get to the next level and see where that takes me.
On that point, knowing that you have that goal that you want to play at the next level, what are the areas right now that you're thinking, okay, over these next 2 years, I've got to get better here, or these are the things I have to do to prepare to allow myself to have that opportunity? Do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I need to get stronger. I mean, there's obviously a lot I can work on. There's a lot I can improve in,
Mm-hmm.
but I think my main thing I need to do is get stronger.
Again, Jesse Napgezek from Wausau East, our student-athlete guest this week here on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. You do start off the Wisconsin Valley Conference on Friday night, DC Everest. Always those fun games when you play either, I imagine, West or Everest. When you look at the conference itself, have you kind of looked at what the teams are doing in the non-conference? Have you taken a peek? Have you any thoughts on maybe some of the teams you expect to be among the best in the conference outside, of course, of Wausau East?
Yeah, I really just look for the game ahead of us, but yeah, I have watched film on a little bit of the teams like Everest and Spash, but we're really just focused on Everest on Friday.
Well, what jumps out about DC Everest? They've had some pretty good years recently. Obviously, when you lose a Division I basketball talent like they did, there's going to be some changes, but I know they've got a great scorer in Cohen Preby, and again, I think it's a team that's always going to be there. What have you talked about within the team and Coach Garrett and everybody else about what to expect from DC Everest?
Yeah, I mean, they're a great team. They're well coached and hard workers. I play AAU with some of the kids on the team, and it's going to be a tough matchup, but I'm excited and looking forward to it.
What are those games like when you face maybe Everest or Wausau West, the city teams basically? What are those games like when you know your opponents probably as intimately as anybody? You've probably seen them play, played pickup games. What are those games like?
Yeah, it's a great. I love competing, and when you know them personally, it just makes the competition even better. And yeah, it's just great. It's really fun to play against them.
Do you have a favorite opponent, whether football or basketball?
Yeah, Wausau West definitely.
Beyond just being the inner city rival, is there anything else about it? Is it maybe an energy in the venues? Is it knowing that that maybe the student body is more into it than maybe even a normal game? What else adds to the whole ambiance of a East-West game?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're a rivalry across the river, but I think the atmosphere is really what gets me. I mean, I love playing in a big atmosphere and when it's loud, and yeah, it's great.
When you look at this season, and obviously, again, I think that until you do it, people almost aren't expecting it. And it's been a process for East now to take steps forward the last few years. When you look at this year now, how do you look at the goals? Do you have goals for this season, both individually and team-wise, or is it, as you said, maybe one day and one game at a time?
Yeah, we do. We have big goals. We want to finish the top half of the conference, and we want to see where that takes us. And yeah, that's about it.
Do you dare to have big dreams? Sometimes I ask some of our guests, because obviously playing, say, on the Kohl Center court, something like that. Do you allow yourself to visualize something like that, even when it's obviously such a long way to go?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think about that all the time. I really do have big goals, but some of them I don't like to disclose just because, But
man, now that opens the box. I want to find out some of these big goals. And I guess finally, what's the biggest thing you've learned, maybe, just generally, from sports? Because often I'll ask about, especially with a senior, but you're not at this level yet. So I'm going to ask the question in a different way. What have you learned so far during, it can be even, non-varsity, in the run-up through middle school and high school before you got to this point? What has sports taught you that maybe you wouldn't have gotten by not being involved in the different sports you've been involved with?
Yeah, I think sports just in general really taught me how to work hard. If you have, a goal in mind, you got to work as hard as you can just to get there.
Fantastic. Again, it's been a terrific start for you and your teammates this season, 5-0. Now into the WVC, and again, a lot of great matchups coming up starting on Friday with the DC Everest Evergreens. Jesse, again, really appreciate you spending a few minutes with us and coming on by, and best of luck throughout the rest of the season.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Again, Jesse from the Wausau East Lumberjacks, currently the leading scorer for East as they are 5-0 on the young season. We are going to take a break, come back, and then it will be our coach guest. Usually, again, we have our coach guest in the first hour, but because of scheduling, we pushed it back here to the second hour of the show. And somebody who had a big win last night as Newman Catholic girls defeated Marathon. First win for the first-year head coach, Casey Clausia. So we'll talk to the coach coming up. I'm Chad Holmes. More to come. Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230, bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck yes, that'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Wisconsin, because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
A football coaching legend calls it a career, plus news and notes from the hardwood. I'm Travis Wilson, and this is a WisSports.net Minute brought to you by NFHSnetwork.com. More high school sports news after this.
Do you ever wish you could be in two places at once? With homework, carpool, practice, and everything else, sometimes you just can't make it to every game. But the NFHS Network's streaming platform makes that a little easier. For just $11.99 a month, you can watch unlimited high school sports live and on demand, at home or on the go. You can watch online or on one of our mobile or connected TV apps. Visit NFHSnetwork.com and subscribe today to never miss another game.
Last week, Waunakee football coach Pat Rice announced his retirement after leading the Warriors to 342 wins with just 44 losses, including 7 WIAA state titles and 5 runner-up finishes. Rice has the highest winning percentage of any coach with at least 200 victories in state history, posting a mark of .886. In girls basketball action, Division III top-ranked Waupun took down second-ranked Kettle Moraine Lutheran 61-48 on Friday in the first of at least 2 matchups between the East Central Conference rivals. Senior Cale Peterson finished with a game-high 22 points to go with 12 rebounds and 8 steals. D1 number 1 Hortonville narrowly fended off rival Kimberly on Friday, winning 68-67 in overtime behind 26 points from UConn commit Allie Zabel. In boys basketball action, D3 top-ranked Milwaukee Academy of Science went down on Saturday at the Terry Porter Classic, 77-76 against Carmen Northwest. Division 5 top-ranked Solon Springs is off to a hot 2-0 start, including a 111-12 victory over Mercer on Friday. Pacelli's Jaden Awe had 36 points and 35 rebounds in a win against Wyomega Fremont last Thursday. Remember to head to wisports.net for full hoops results each night. This has been a wisports.net Minute. Check us out online at wisports.net and search Apple for the WSN podcast.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Wisconsin. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the WIAA and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association.
What's your idea of fall fun? Maybe it's hitting the trails on a new ATV. Then it's time to call CCU. That's Clover Belt Credit Union. Or if you're thinking of a UTV for hauling wood or hunting, or maybe just because it would make the tasks around your property so much easier, it's time to call CCU. ATVs, UTVs, utility tractors, and their attachments for care of your property. Whether you need it for fun or to get the job done, Clover Belt Credit Union is here to help with the great rate financing you want. What are you waiting for? Life's too short and winter's too long. Thinking about a motorhome or maybe a snowplow for your ATV or utility tractor? Call CCU for great rate financing. And if you're thinking motorcycle, Clover Belt Credit Union has the financing you need for the bike you want. Call or apply online at ccuwausau.com. Check it out. For vehicle loans, for mortgages, for financing fall fun, call Clover Belt Credit Union. That's CCU. Local lenders lending local money, keeping our community strong.
And welcome back. Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230, online at bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. Again, thanks to our student athlete guest, Wausau East Junior Jesse Napgezek, for joining us. And now it's time for our coach guest for this week from Newman Catholic High School, the first-year head coach of the Cardinals on the girls basketball side, Casey Clausius. And Coach, thank you for spending a few minutes with us.
Well, thanks, Chad, for having me. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. And we're going to start off with last night because one thing I've learned over the years is when Newman and Marathon get together, Newman wants to beat Marathon and Marathon wants to beat Newman. It's been a terrific rivalry. And for you to get your first win as the Cardinal girls basketball coach in Marathon against the Red Raiders had to be a very sweet moment. Talk about last night's game, because obviously it was a game where you led for much of the game, but it was never a point where you could probably relax. But to get that first W after playing a very tough schedule up to this point had to be very rewarding and a big lift for everybody involved.
Yeah, like you said, Chad, it's this is our sixth game going into Marathon, and we're started off with some tough teams. Got Assumption, one of the best in Division 5, and then we faced East and West and Wausau, and went on to play Athens, who went to sectional finals last year, and in Division 5, and then went on Auburndale in Division 4, and we competed with all of them. I just kept telling the girls, just keep on persevering and keep believing in each other, and hopefully that good things could come out of this, every day we didn't get a win. It was harder and harder to keep motivated. But when Marathon was on the schedule, we're like, this is going to be a tough game. Marathon, very similar record as us coming in, and we were just lucky to prevail and got out to an early lead and kept it from there. So it was a kind of back and forth and got a little chippy at the end, but we ended up pulling it off.
Before we actually talk about some of the girls on your team and what the look ahead is, I want to ask you about your background, because I don't know if we've ever had a coach be able to talk to that plied his trade up in the great north of Alaska. And I think that's one of the things that kind of jumps out. You had success in the state of Alaska and then moved to Wisconsin. But I got to ask, what was it like coaching and teaching and working up in Alaska for the folks here in central Wisconsin?
Oh yeah. It's just, you hear some of it on TV and hear stories of it, and it's all true. I was fortunate to be up in a village community up in Point Hope, Alaska, where they were very successful in basketball and boys and girls, and I helped assist there under Rex Rock, who won, I think he's up to about 15 state titles now. And then they went down to Unalaska. It's a very, very unique, when I tell people, very unique place. It's 25% on the road system. Everywhere you have to go, you have to fly. And when you do drive, you have to drive long miles. And you play multiple days, and you only get to fly maybe, 8 kids at a time, and at the varsity level. So you're looking to you're sleeping on school floors, you're driving long hours, you're embracing their communities because every community is a bit different. It was a very, very rewarding experience for me, where, our girl, I was very fortunate to coach a team that ended up became very successful. And coming back here, it's the Merriwood is very, very competitive, and it brought back a lot of memories going up there, and you're facing schools of all different unique backgrounds, and you're just hoping to compete every single day. So there's a lot of similarities, but a lot of differences too.
I think one of the similarities when you talk about what you experienced there and what I've seen over the years, and I think others have seen here, is that no matter where you are, and no matter what maybe the challenges are, it takes a dedication and a love of the game. And I can just imagine when you were talking about how difficult it might be to travel and have to have multiple days to play games, that you just have to want to do it. You want to have to work at it, want to be involved in the team aspect of it. And I imagine that no matter where you are, maybe no matter what sport you are, that is probably the first building block in terms of building any successful high school sports program, isn't it?
Yeah. So, I always tell the girls a simple motto that, to respect everybody and everything, and invest in what you do and appreciate, because when it's over, and then work hard every single second you can out there. And hopefully, and you will get rewarded when it comes down the pipe. And, those similarities ring true no matter where you're at in the United States and even the world. So, it doesn't matter what culture you come from, but everybody understands that if you follow the simple aspects of respect, invest, and work hard in it, hopefully it'll pay off at the end.
Again,
you become a very, very better person, that is.
Again, we're talking to Newman Catholic High School girls basketball coach Casey Clausius here on the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. I think you kind of started in terms of that answer talking about some of the foundations of what a program of yours wants to be. Beyond the culture, as a basketball coach, do you have what you would call basic philosophies of what you try to accomplish on the court?
Yeah, with the small numbers we have at Newman Catholic, we have to compete with a lot of different sports. I'm a true promoter in wanting to have the kids, become 3-sport athletes if possible. Willing to juggle, being a volleyball player or a softball player at track, or and then come back to basketball, and it makes each athlete become a better athlete overall, and it makes them appreciate the goods and bads of their sport or their coaches, or their experiences, and hopefully they become a better student athlete as well, because they have to juggle all of these throughout each and every year. So the biggest part is, are they good student athletes? But, I want them to be well-rounded athletes as well in all of their respective sports.
Style play. Some guys want to go up and down, and others want to go half court and make it difficult. The defensive end start there. What's your thought process? How do you want your girls playing basketball?
Yeah, so I always talk to them about trying to just remain, working hard and showing a little grit, and it doesn't matter if it's on the offense or defensive end. We have to, you have to limit your turnovers on offense. You have to try to encourage the girls to work hard to get turnovers, and and it's kind of the next person up mentality that we have here at Newman. We've at the beginning of the year we struggled with the slower with the success of the girls volleyball, so we had many girls out from girls volleyball, which is a great problem to have. But then, kind of getting into it, we had a couple injuries that set us back, and we had Thanksgiving, and now soon to be Christmas, holiday breaks. And, you're juggling all of these, and we're just hoping that our girls understand that there's a reason why we do things. And I want them to be, fast thinkers and willing to make great decisions on the fly. And slowly, statistically, our stats are showing that. We've, some tough teams as of late, and we're just hoping to, keep having the girls put their pedal to the metal and work hard every single second, but realize that there is times like last night against Marathon, especially towards the end, you're going to have those ups and downs. And you want to make sure that we are nice and level, steady in our beliefs, and not too high, not too low at all times, and just enjoy the moments while they're there.
Well, if you're somebody that likes a little bit of grit, I think you got a player that's been really good for you in that department so far in Lily Shields. Does she fit that mold that you talk about?
Yeah, talk about a girl who's willing to do anything and everything and even extra. So far this season, she's, had 5 to 10 steals in about every game. She started off slow, just getting out of the volleyball mode and coming into basketball. But, this girl is playing basketball, 5-6 nights a week, and then also, doing volleyball on the weekends. They say, I don't want to hear about any injuries, just be ready on Monday. And this girl just willing to do whatever it takes. She's always pressuring on defense. And, last night, she made some critical baskets down the stretch. I give her a tremendous credit that, I was tell the girls, if you're going to go rogue, if you're going to do your own thing, hopefully you do good stuff. And she did that last night. And I credit her not just on her offense, but her defense, again, putting pressure on them, making them make poor decisions with the ball.
Again, we're talking to Newman Cardinal girls basketball coach Casey Clausius here on Bow Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. You mentioned, the numbers are not great, but at the same time, you do have a number of girls that have proven that they can put the ball in the hole. I mean, if you look at the average scoring so far, you got Evie Bates at 5.4, and they got Mel Severson at 5.5, and Aubrey Pent nearly 6. Mallory Rozwadowski more than 7, nearly 8 for Ashley Jankowski. So again, maybe the numbers aren't great, but you have a number of girls that have proven that they can be contributors, haven't you?
Yeah, and just every time down the court, we're just looking at doing something positive. And it's one of those things I stress to the girls is that everybody is important on our team. And it doesn't matter if you're one of the starters or if you're on the end of the bench, that everybody needs to contribute somehow in some way for the betterment of the team. And everything is a selfless act. It doesn't matter who puts the ball in the hole. We want to try to win, and we want to try to compete as long and as much as possible. And this is a testament to the girls for believing in themselves and willing to go that extra mile. And it's kind of showing off so far in a little at a time. So it's really nice.
How has the process gone for you? Because I imagine one of the biggest things, both in terms of the run up to the season after you got the job, is developing the relationships. It's never easy starting with year one. You're always starting brand new. How has the process gone for you up to this point? How have you felt about it?
Right. Well, my first day walking in and watching the girls play summer ball, and you could tell that they were ready for a new vibe, somebody new to challenge them. And I saw them the first time was in Marathon, actually. So it's kind of that sweet moment where I'm kind of going full circle a little bit here. Got my first win at Marathon, first met them in July at Marathon. And those girls were willing to get out and play. I credit our AD with Mr. Micklig and Mr. Ackerman for stepping in because of having no coach. And, it's just one of those things that was really great to see that the girls were all there. They're all willing to play and willing to compete. And it didn't matter who they're playing. They just seem to have this really positive energy. And it really feeds up my way of coaching as well as every day it's a long season. We just want to remain positive, and these girls are doing that.
And there's big challenges. I mean, I'm just looking at your schedule. You play a number of road games. You got a couple more road games coming up before we finally get two at the Newman gym, and then you're back on the road to Edgar and Amherst before the end of the year. A lot of challenges out there right now. And when you look at your team, what are the areas that you have to continue to get better at? I imagine as a coach you want to get better in all these areas, but when you look at what you've learned so far from this group and what you know you're going to have to try and do against, again, a very good Merriwood Conference and your non-conference opponents as well, what are the areas that right now as a coach, as you continue, again, in the first half of your first season with so much on your plate, that you have to get better at in order to continue to try and get some W's?
Well, Chad, when you say it like that, it makes anybody seem overwhelmed. We just, biggest part is I tell the girls, we're just going to take it one day at a time. Tonight, here we are trying to go to practice, and we had a very nice Christmas program in the gym, so we were unable to practice, but we still looked at tape from last night and talked about our upcoming opponents. And, we're just taking it in one day at a time. And, I told the girls, just no pressure, just go out and play the best you can. And you'll get rewarded for that. And that's what we're doing. All I know is that we have Abbotsford on Friday night. And then the next week, it looks like we have Stratford. But, Abbotsford's on the agenda, and we're just looking at competing and having a great game against them on Friday.
And looking at those games, I think that's something that I kind of noticed so far this year. You do have teams, I think, like Assumption that is expected to maybe, be a favorite to make it to the state tournament. You got a team like Phillips in the north that I think is along those lines as well. But a lot of the other teams, I think, are like yourself, that if you execute well, if you play hard, if you do the right things, you have a chance to win each night. Is that the way you look at it as well?
Yeah, absolutely. That, and even against a Assumption or a Phillips, can we compete with them for long periods of time? The biggest part is getting through the first couple weeks of the aches and pains of the early season, being maybe possibly a little bit out of shape or not in basketball mode yet. Those are always challenges to start the season. I think now here we are, we're looking at a month into the season or a little more than that we're, just looking at just taking it and seeing where we can go with it. But, overall, we just got to stay healthy and make great decisions on the court and off the court.
And when you look at the big picture as a program, and we touched on it, that the numbers this year, you don't have a JV team to work with. You have low numbers generally, as a total varsity program. As you look at trying to build the program, and obviously you can be limited by the enrollment within the school, the number of girls within the school, but how do you look at trying to build a program when you do have some of the challenges that you have to face? Is there anything in particular you're going to try to do in order to try to get the numbers up? Because that's probably the only way that you can have sustained success over a number of years is to be a complete program, and it obviously is a bit of a challenge that you've come into.
Right, yeah, so the biggest part is that you need to talk positively about the sport. I realize that there's been a few turnover in coaches, and I want them to realize that I'm here, and they have to entrust that basketball is an outlet for them. They can go out for it if they choose. We're hoping to develop that youth program as well, a little more and more better every year. And so far we kind of have a larger 8th grade class, which is promising for the JV moving into next year. So, we're just, the biggest part is just having positive talk about the sport of basketball at Newman, and talk about the history, about how great, the runs were and how much success they've had in recent years. And, we're just, again, taking it in. I realize, with this team here, the core I have, we have a lot of girls that maybe only they take basketball seriously, and they've been going to camps, and they've been, working at the Y, or they've been playing pickup games, and they come to open gyms before the season started. It was just a good start, and, just talking positively to each other that this sport is a beautiful thing, and you should be going out for it, and you're missing something if you're not.
Absolutely. Very, very well said. Well, congratulations again on the W last night, getting number one, hopefully the first of many. Best of luck Friday when you hit the road to Abbotsford, taking on the Falcons. And again, really appreciate spending a few minutes with you, Coach.
Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate all the support.
That is the head basketball coach for Newman Catholic High School girls, Casey Clausius. We're going to take a break and we're going to look ahead. What's happening in terms of boys basketball and girls basketball? Some of the matchups coming up over the weekend and in the next week. So that's coming up next. I'm Chad Holmes. It is the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. Online at bullfallsradio.com. Mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app.
Take your career to the next level with Graphic Packaging International. Work with a team to make Hot Pocket sleeves and the food trays you find at our local fair. Join the GPI team and experience the benefits of one of the highest paying manufacturers in the area, starting at almost $22.55 per hour. Enjoy job security, a clean facility, and an excellent benefits package, including a week of vacation after 4 months and 2 weeks after a year. Apply today at graphicpkg.com and elevate your career with Graphic Packaging.
If you're looking for your next ride, check out Mankey GMC in Schofield. Formerly Fred Miller Automotive, Mankey GMC serves Schofield, Wausau, Marshfield, and Stevens Point with a huge selection of new and pre-owned vehicles. Explore a range of top-notch SUVs like Acadia, Terrain, and Yukon, or choose from the rugged Sierra truck lineup, or even a certified pre-owned vehicle. No matter your dream vehicle awaits at Mankey GMC, 448 Grand Avenue in Schofield, and online at MankeyAuto.com. Mankey GMC in Schofield, where your journey begins.
Hungry for flavor-packed fun?
Dive into Red Robin's sizzling burgers, mouth-watering fries, and endless options.
Or maybe you're craving the perfect slice.
Then it's Donato's Pizza, your passport to pizza perfection.
Order now and treat yourself to an unforgettable taste experience.
Red Robin and Donato's Pizza, 225548 Rib Mountain Drive in Wausau.
Call 715-301-0019 or log on redrobin.com.
Red Robin and Donato's Pizza.
Fall sports are here. Align your young athletes and yourself with health by scheduling an appointment with Dr. Sarah at Shine Chiropractic in Rim Mountain. Stay in the game with our comprehensive 3-point neurological exam, safe for the entire family. Don't let the daily grind keep you and your student athletes on the sidelines this year. Call Dr. Sarah at 715-298-5104. That's 715-298-5104 in Rim Mountain today.
So, how are the kids?
Well, Emily made the honor roll.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah, we're really proud of her. Tyler, on the other hand, though.
What's going on?
He's been moody lately, just feeling down and not like himself.
Oh, we've been there. Nick was struggling last spring. He was so anxious and stressed.
Really? What helped?
Well, he joined the soccer team. And ever since, he's been a lot happier. He has more energy, he's less stressed, and he's definitely in a better mood at home. It's made a huge difference.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad he's getting out of the house, he's getting some exercise, and he's off his phone for once. It's been good for his mental health.
Sounds like it's been good for your mental health, too.
Participating in Wisconsin high school sports improves students' physical and mental health. Encourage your son or daughter to get involved. This message presented by the WIAA and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association.
And back, Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230, bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. I'm Chad Holmes. I should have mentioned as well, on the other side of the glass, my producer, engineer, Ian Welsh. Ian, again, thank you for your help, especially since Jeff Gress is not here. And also thanks for your help because, I don't know about you, I'm tired.
Yeah.
Last night we
it's
had
the middle of the week, so it's okay.
We had a late night last night because I was down in the Madison area with the Wausau West boys basketball team at Monona Grove. 2.5-hour bus ride each way. Got home about midnight last night, and I know you were here running. We had the double header last night, West and Monona Grove, and then Newman taking on Marathon on the girls' side. So I do appreciate you, and you're back in this morning for my daily show from 8 to 10 a.m. But again, thank you for your help, and thanks for coming in each Wednesday night.
Happy to be here. You had the later night. Yeah. And you had the busier nights. You had 2 games.
Yeah.
I just had the 1.
Sometimes I tell myself there's no heavy lifting, so I can't be complaining. But talking all the time can be its own version of heavy lifting. Yeah. But I was fortunate last night. We had a very good game with the Warriors and the Monona Grove, and of course we just talked about the Newman win over Marathon, which Tom Weaver had last night as well. So again, just wanted to make sure that we properly introduced Ian Welsh here, as he always pushes the buttons here on the Big High School Sports Show on Bow Falls Radio.
Thank you, Chad.
Absolutely. And looking ahead, before we talk about generally boys and girls basketball and the games coming up here over the weekend and into early next week, looking at our broadcast schedule. And again, if you join us here on Wednesday nights, make sure you also tune in for our play-by-play broadcast. I'm very proud that Bow Falls Radio, WXCO, is the only Wausau radio station that still provides live play-by-play coverage of high school sports. Tomorrow night, we will have the semifinal of the Marathon Cup tournament, as the Wausau West Warriors will be taking on the DC Everest Evergreens. Always a great matchup. Semifinal Marathon Cup, that'll be the second semifinal. We'll be on the air at approximately 7:20 tomorrow evening. Scheduled face-off at 7:30. That's Marathon Cup hockey tomorrow night. And then on Friday night, the Wisconsin Valley Conference opener for the Wausau West boys basketball team, as Wausau West will travel to Merrill for their conference opener. We'll be on the air for the pregame at 7 o'clock, and then the opening tip at 7:15. On Saturday, we have both basketball and hockey. In the afternoon, we'll have the Wausau West boys basketball team right back at it. They play Friday night, and then they play Saturday. They're part of an event over in Kaukauna. They'll be taking on Little Chute in the afternoon. It will be a 2:50 for the pregame, 3 p.m. for the opening tip. Again, Wausau West against Little Chute from Kaukauna on Saturday afternoon, 2:50 for the pregame. And then on Saturday night, we'll have Wausau West in the Marathon Cup, either the consolation round or the championship round. Again, that will be coming up on Saturday evening. And then, of course, next week we have more action as well. On Tuesday, the Central Wisconsin Storm in action at Eau Claire area. Again, an early start, 5 o'clock opening face-off live here on Bow Falls Radio. And then after that, Tom will have Marathon High School boys basketball in a big one against Stratford. And that one will be coming at 7 o'clock or right after the Storm game on Bow Falls Radio. So again, another big week coming up of basketball and hockey on Wausau's only radio home for high school play-by-play, Bow Falls Radio 98.9 to 1230, online at bowfallsradio.com, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. Well, looking ahead, this is the area I need Jeff to help me with, because there's, I want to know what games he's looking forward to. But what I'll tell you here, just looking at boys basketball first. We got Wisconsin Valley Conference, and obviously the first night of the conference season is exciting. And on Friday night, as I said, I'll be in Merrill for Wausau West and the Merrill Blue Jays. That's a good matchup. Again, Wausau West coming off that terrific win against Monona Grove. They're 3-2 overall. Merrill is 2-1 on the season. Again, I think this is a very interesting matchup. These are teams that are being picked somewhere in the middle at this point, I think, in the WVC. This is the kind of game, if you want to try to move your way up into the top third of the conference, the top three, you got to win this game if you're Wausau West or Merrill. So I think it's a very, very interesting matchup, Warriors and the Blue Jays on Friday night. Also, again, as we talked with Jesse Napgezek, the game between DC Everest and Wausau East. It's a great rivalry. It's going to be, I think, a lot of fun over at the East Gym. DC Everest, again, adjusting to life without Hall. The two Hall boys the last number of years were such incredible performers for the Evergreens. And they still got Cohen Preview, who's a very, very talented guard. And Wausau East, of course, has been putting up big numbers offensively. Does DC Everest have the answers to try and slow down Wausau East offensively? Jesse Napgezek, well over 20 points per game. But as I said, they have had 3 and 4 double-digit scores almost every game. So, again, different options for East, but it'll be a very interesting matchup. That's another opportunity for East to say, hey, This is not the same Lumberjacks we've seen the last few years. This is a team that's going to compete for a conference championship, and if they can get it against DC Everest Friday and get a 6th straight win to open up the season, that would be big for Wausau East. And then Wisconsin Rapids at Marshfield. And it's going to be, again, interesting to watch Rapids as they continue. They're a team that likes to go up and down the court. They're a team that likes to throw up a lot of three-pointers. Marshfield is a team that's just tough. They're always tough. They're always they got great length and athletic. So it's not going to be an easy conference opener for Rapids in Marshfield on Friday. Then, as I said, Wausau West back at it Saturday against Little Chute in that Kaukauna event. Other non-conference games Saturday, Stevens Point home against Appleton West, and Marshfield back-to-back games. They're home against La Crosse Central. Wausau East has another non-conference game on Monday when they play host to Colby, and then a number of non-conference games involving Wisconsin Valley Conference teams coming up on Tuesday. Wausau West, another road game. Warriors hitting the road quite a bit recently. It's a stretch of 5 consecutive road games. Tuesday night, they're at Green Bay East. DC Everest is home against Medford. Lakeland at Merrill. That's a good non-conference matchup between the Great Northern Conference and the Wisconsin Valley. And Mosinee travels to Wisconsin Rapids. I'm sure Mosinee always likes to take the opportunity to put the flag of the GNC against WVC teams as well. Speaking of the Great Northern, you got conference games coming up on Friday. You got Mosinee. They're home against Medford. Mosinee right now looking very, very tough. And Medford's always been a very, very tough team themselves. The Medford Raiders are a team that has been up there for a number of years, but they lost to Lakeland in their conference opener. They have had a tough go of it generally early in the season, 0-3 overall. So, again, maybe a bit of a reload now for the Medford Raiders, but it's not going to be easy in Mosinee on Friday night. And Mosinee just, again, multiple options. What they did against Merrill last week, when they put the pedal down, and they had a run of, like 30-4, something like that. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but what they did against a solid Merrill team shows, again, when Mosinee is clicking on all cylinders, they're very, very difficult to slow down. You got Lakeland at Antigo. Lakeland T-Birds, again, 1-0 in the conference, 2-1. That was a good win over Medford last Friday for Lakeland. Antigo, 1-3 overall, 0-1 in the conference, trying to, again, I think, rebuild athletically at Antigo High School. So, again, that's a GNC game Friday. And Northern Pines at Rhinelander. Over the last couple of years, Northern Pines has turned it around. They become a boys basketball school, but they lost so much talent and so much production. They got that first win in the conference over a struggling Tomahawk squad, but I think this is going to be a very difficult matchup for Pines in Rhinelander, and obviously Rhinelander looking to bounce back from what was a difficult night against Wausau East last night. Mosinee then right back at it at Kaukauna. They're also part of that Kaukauna event. I said I'm going to be going over there with Wausau West Saturday afternoon. Mosinee actually takes on the host school, Kaukauna, on Saturday night. Really good non-conference matchup for Mosinee, testing themselves, trying to be ready for the push when we get into 2024 and closer to the playoffs. And then again, as I said, the GNC challenging themselves in a number of games against the Valley Tuesday. As I said, Mosinee at Rapids, Medford at Everest, Lakeland at Merrill. Again, some interesting games. Merriwood South. Got those old crossovers coming up late in the week. Normally the crossovers either Thursday or Friday. Thursday, Marathon at Rib Lake. Yeah, don't envy the Rib Lake boys. This Marathon team, tough, and they're going to have to find a way to slow down Grant Warren. Big Grant Warren, little Jim in Rib Lake. It's going to be interesting to see what Marathon does tomorrow night against Rib Lake. Assumption also makes the trek north to Chequamegon. That is a long bus ride for the Assumption Royals. So, and then a game where I don't think I've ever said a game that involves the Northeast Wisconsin Christian Homeschool. But on the schedule, the Northeast Wisconsin Christian Homeschool taking on the Stratford Tigers. Interesting indeed. That's tomorrow. And then more crossovers on Friday. Newman Catholic is at Abbotsford. Cardinals, again, trying to grow. They lost basically almost all the production from their state championship team a year ago. It's been a bit of an up and down start for Coach Waldvogel and his team, but the Newman Cardinals will try to get back on the winning track at Abbotsford on Friday. You got Auburndale at Phillips as well in a crossover, and Edgar is at Prentice. So this week, the Merriwood South teams are heading to the Merriwood South, to the Merriwood North schools for these crossovers. And then next Tuesday, again, a very interesting night. The big one next Tuesday, Stratford at Marathon. Always a massive matchup in boys basketball here in Central Wisconsin. Again, we will have the game on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230, bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices, and Alexa Tuesday night. Tom Weaver will have the play-by-play of that one. Also Tuesday, Auburndale at Newman Catholic, and Edgar hosting Assumption. So again, those nights when the Merriwood South gets together, there's always usually 3 really good matchups. CWC Northern Lutheran is participating in an event at the Wisconsin Lutheran College Friday and Saturday. They will take on Illinois Lutheran, an out-of-state school, on Friday, and then a team to be determined on Saturday. And Northern goes to Rosholt on Tuesday of next week. And Wittenberg-Burnhamwood, Friday night, big CWC East matchup at Bonduelle. Whitburn at Bonduelle. And then they have a good non-conference matchup on Monday, Whitburn hosting Rhinelander. So those are some of the games to keep an eye on the boys' side. Coming up on the girls' side, Wisconsin Valley Conference. You got Friday night, Merrill at Wausau West. Again, I think a very interesting matchup. Warriors off to a bit of a tough start, 1 win and 3 losses. That last night's game has to sting just a little bit, where you have a 7-point lead at halftime and then let that slip away at home to Chippewa Falls. The Merrill Blue Jays played tough basketball against Marshfield last night, so that's an interesting game. And real quickly, just so fans, we're going to have covered basically Wausau West and Merrill, both the boys and the girls. I will be in Merrill here on Bull Falls Radio for the boys game, and also you can catch the game here in Central Wisconsin on the Merrill radio station, the girls. So we made it where one of us would be in Merrill, one would be at Wausau West. I'll be in Merrill for the boys, and Oliver Burrows will be in Wausau for the girls. Merrill and Wausau West on Blue Jay 96.3 FM. BlueJ963.com, and mobile devices by searching WJMT on Friday. So again, if you're looking for the Merrill West girls, you can catch that on BlueJ 96.3 FM and also BlueJ963.com and mobile devices Friday. DC Everest and Wausau East. It's been a bit of a struggle for the Evergreens. Had a good win against Rhinelander, but other than that, they've been really blown out in most of their games. And Wausau East, again, last night, that was a step forward for East. They have not challenged Stevens Point in quite a long time, and they were able to put up 73 points. The offense, as we heard, that is the thing for Wausau East this year. Don't be afraid to shoot the basketball. You want to be able to slow down your opponent a little bit more, but still, Wausau East looking like a very much improved girls basketball team. They will host DC Everest on Friday, and Wisconsin Rapids at Marshfield. Marshfield Tigers, I think, under Coach Taylor Varsho, the preseason favorites right now in the WVCs. And then on Tuesday, Rhinelander at East in non-conference play. Everest will travel up to Lakeland. Don't envy the Evergreens against Christina Wilmette and the Lakeland Thunderbirds. Tough one. Wisconsin Rapids at Menasha Tuesday. Great Northern Conference. Lakeland, looking again like far and away the best team in that conference at Antigo Friday. Mosinee is at Medford. Rhinelander at Pines. Merriwood Conference South. We talked about Newman Catholic heading to Abbotsford on Friday, looking for a second straight win. Again, it's 5 different crossover games coming up on Friday. On the girls' side, Merriwood South at the Merriwood North, Newman Catholic at Abbotsford, Stratford at Athens, Edgar visits Prentice, Marathon at Rib Lake, and Assumption is at Shawamigan. And finally, Wittenberg-Burnhamwood, undefeated so far. 6 wins in a row for the Chargers. They have a couple of home games coming up. A significant game in the CWC East on Friday. Bonduelle pays a visit to Wittenberg-Burnhamwood. That's a good one if you're in the Wittenberg area Friday night. And then Tuesday, Wittenberg-Burnhamwood home again against Iola Scandinavia as well in the CWC Large. So, again, when you look at that, and I remind you as well, don't forget about the Marathon Cup. even if you're not a huge hockey fan, it's just a wonderful atmosphere. Again, it's one of those games that really brings the communities together. Wausau West, Wausau East, Merrill, DC Everest, and Mosinee, all in one venue, both Thursday night at the Marathon Park Ice Arena and then on Saturday night at the Mosinee Rec Center. It's interesting because, again, when you think back, when I went to DC Everest back in the 80s. I graduated back in 1989. Back then, I would always go to the Marathon Cup. It was at Marathon Park. I'm looking forward to going back to Marathon Park for a Marathon Cup tournament. And be there tomorrow night and to see the Marathon Park Ice Arena packed with fans from all the schools. It's going to be a lot of fun tomorrow night, and especially then on Saturday as well. I don't think they've ever had the Marathon Cup at Mosinee. I have to double check on that, but at the Mosinee Rec Center on Saturday, the Marathon Cup will be handed out. The championship round at 7:30, the consolation round at 5:30 as well. So again, if you have an opportunity, either tomorrow at Marathon Park or on Saturday at the Mosinee Rec Center, take advantage. It really should be, I think, a fantastic time. Well, thanks again to our guest, Wausau East High School junior Jesse Napgezek, and Newman Catholic High School girls basketball coach Casey Clossy. As a reminder that if you miss any of the program, if you missed any of the previous programs, they're put up as podcasts. You can go to our website, bullfallsradio.com, click on the sports link, and then click on the Big High School Sports Show logo. Be able to listen coming up in just a few minutes to this show and then other shows as well. And also you can just search where you get your podcast. Search for the Big High School Sports Show wherever you get your podcast. Next week, we will have Jeff Gress back. Hopefully, my hope is I'm going to reach out and try to get all 4 of the finalists for the Win Brockmeyer Award to be with us next week. That's my hope as well. So until next week, Wednesday, 6 till 8 p.m., right here, Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230, bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app.
WXCO 1230 AM, W255DN Wausau, streaming at bullfallsradio.com.